All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all for joining us as we announce new actions taken by the city of Baltimore in response to the ongoing federal shutdown. I am proud to be joined today by my congressman, Congressman Mfume, and Congressman Olszewski Jr., who fight each and every day on behalf of the people of Baltimore. Thank you all for being here, both of you for being here. We're also joined by the councilman for this district, Dr. John Bullock, and our partners from the Maryland Food Bank, my Office of Children and Family Success, the Office of Neighborhood Safety Engagement, Department of Planning, Health Department, and of course, our host from the Food Project. I also want to acknowledge the great work to put this together from our incredible city administrator, Director Elizabeth Tatum from our Office of Recovery Programs, and Budget Director Laura Lawson, who will help identify the funding sources for today's announcement, as well as Deputy Mayor DeRaza and Dr. Brooks, or Dr. D Squared, who, what we call them, who are working to deliver on this package in part through CAP centers. To be very clear, we're here today because the president and his allies in Congress do not care about the working people of this city or anywhere in America for that matter. We're here because Republicans have given folks a false choice. Cut health care coverage for 15 million Americans, or keep government shut down, which means holding critical programs like SNAP hostage, programs that serve mostly young people and older adults, and leaving federal workers, roughly a quarter of whom are veterans, without a paycheck. None of those things should ever be on the table, ever, in the wealthiest country in the history of the world. And while Republicans are sitting around instead and negotiating into the shutdown, our residents are feeling a real pain. So today I am announcing over $4.6 million to support programs and individuals who are impacted by the federal shutdown. This funding will help residents put food on the table, pay rent, and cover child care, and will support hospital-based violence responders whose institutions depend on federal support to provide life-saving services. Baltimore, as you know, is home to nearly 12,000 federal employees. Everyone from the public health experts and VA doctors and nurses to the maintenance workers in federal buildings who are not being paid right now. Many of them are still working without a paycheck. While we don't have the funds to fill every gap, a local government is being forced to clean up the mess made by Republicans in Washington, just like we've had to do many, many times before. Now I'm going to run through the key investments in this package. Residents can visit baltimorecity.gov/shutdown. Again, that's baltimorecity.gov/shutdown to get all of this information and find out how to access this support. We'll also be doing direct outreach to populations like our older adults who may prefer to access these resources over the phone or in person. This package starts with $1.7 million for food assistance, because above all, we do not want anybody going hungry. We know that SNAP benefits run out on November the 1st, and government employees and contractors are facing a second missed paycheck, which is why we are moving quickly here. This assistance includes funding for the Maryland Food Bank, which will in turn deliver support to a number of food distribution partners in the city so they can prepare for a rise in demand. A grant for our hosts, the Food Project, to support their distribution work here in Southwest Baltimore. A grant for So What Else, which provides mobile food delivery focus in West Baltimore and Southwest Baltimore. Funding for the city's home delivered food box program, which delivers 15 pounds of shelf-stable food boxes to residents with the greatest need. And funding for at the city's produce box distribution program, which distributes boxes of fresh produce for residents to pick up at sites across the city, including here at the Food Project. For our students, city schools will be providing breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That does not change. But we also know that not all of our young people attend city schools, though they should. And we want to make sure that all of them have access to reliable meals on weekends too, which is why we're delivering support for the Baltimore Hunger Project. You won't need to prove that you're a government employee or SNAP or WIC recipient to benefit from these programs. If you need food, just show up or call and they'll handle the rest. I also want to shout out local businesses like Ecubon who are offering federal workers free or discounted meals. I know some of our philanthropic partners are looking at ways to support these investments, and we appreciate their leadership at this critical time as well. Anyone looking to volunteer can reach out to the Maryland Food Bank. But here in Baltimore, I want to be very clear that we take care of our neighbors, especially in situations like this. And I want to thank everybody for stepping up in this moment. And again, anybody looking for food options can visit baltimorecity.gov/shutdown. But we know that food isn't the only cause folks are facing right now. So, we are also offering rental assistance to those who provide documentation that they qualify for support. There are two that will qualify. First, federal workers paying rent to private landlords. These folks can apply for rental assistance for the next 2 months, and we'll send that money to your landlord to cover your rent. And second, recipients of federal housing subsidies who have already received October funds but may not receive funds in the months coming forward. Folks can sign up to be notified when applications open at, again, baltimorecity.gov/shutdown or by going to one of our CAP centers in person. I also want to remind residents that we have existing city resources to help cover water and utility bills, which you can also find on that website. Additionally, we're grateful to our partners at the state who have issued a stay on eviction for federal workers. Today's announcement also, though, includes $1 million to support child care costs. Like our rental support, this will be available to federal workers, many of them who are still going into the office, which means they have to continue to pay for child care, but they themselves are not being paid. It will also be open to SNAP eligible families who are not receiving the food benefits and additionally paying out of pocket for child care. Applications will open soon, and that can be found, and you can be notified at baltimorecity.gov/shutdown or visit one of our neighborhood CAP centers. The last piece of this investment is a combined $975,000 to support a number of hospitals who are key partners in our community violence intervention work. These institutions play a critical role not only to provide emergency care, but to connect residents with support throughout our CVI ecosystem. In addition to all the cuts that this administration has made to our anchor institution, we know that because of this shutdown, these institutions were facing the risk of layoffs by the end of the week. This is about keeping our neighborhoods safe, getting our residents the care they need, and protecting the folks who keep our city healthy while continuing to drive down violence at historic rates here in Baltimore. Our federal workforce has already been through so much since January, but this shutdown is yet another slap in the face to folks who serve this country each and every day with dignity. For anybody who is the victim of mass layoffs or who is looking for a job outside of the federal government, we have resources available. BaltimoreCity.gov/shutdown has career support options and jobs listings here in Baltimore. And I always remind folks that the city of Baltimore is also hiring, and you can get that at BaltimoreCity.gov. We know that our city dollars will never, and I want to be very clear, our city dollars will never be able to fill the gaps left by this administration and their friends. But we are committed to doing what we can to support the folks that are the most directly impacted by this shutdown. That's what we're about here in Baltimore. If nobody got us, we have to have our own selves. And with that, I will turn it over to my Congressman Kweisi Mfume.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, for a number of things. But today I want to thank you for having a heart and for finding funds to help offset this tragic situation that we all are facing. My thanks to my federal partner, Congressman Johnny Olszewski, who I join with every day in trying to push back against some of these crazy, radical, and hurtful ideas of this administration. And it's good to be here with Councilman John Bullock in his district, and I would be remiss if I did not mention Michelle Sawazo, who runs this project. Yeah, give her a hand. serving 950 families a week, all the way from endowment down to where we are now. And all those people that work with her. Thank you, Michelle, for what you do. Thank you for allowing and helping the Fathers for Fathers program operate out of this building. And all the other efforts that are being done by people who are nameless, faceless, who are not seeking a headline, but rather seeking a way to provide help for so many of our fellow citizens. The mayor's effort is significant. It is significant, but it is still not enough, as he said. If he had his way and we had our way, this would never be happening. So let's talk about how we got to where we are. And those people who wanted to do away with SNAP every time this year the funding came up, and who did it in this big, ugly bill that they call beautiful, cutting billions and billions of dollars from SNAP programs all across this country. And who does that hurt? That hurts women, that hurts their children, that hurts families, that hurts communities, and at the end of the day, that hurts our nation and devalues what we stand for and ignores the fact that we are indeed and must continue to find a way to be our brother's keepers. For all those federal employees in this city, we have been feeling your pain from the beginning, since Donald Trump brought in Elon Musk and this notion of a DOGE committee, which really stood for the Department of Government Evil. That's all that came out of DOGE. And we continue to push back and continue to fight. So the fact that these dollars will go a long way toward food assistance, child assistance, rental assistance, eviction assistance, and all the other things that the mayor talked about are very, very significant. We're like trying to keep our finger in the dike so that we don't get run over by a flood of insecurity and a flood of viciousness coming out of Washington, D.C. Now, one thing, and then I want to bring Johnny O forward. He and I have been in Washington day after day after day for the last 30 days trying to find a way to have a dialogue. The Senate does what it's going to do, and they continue to vote one way or another. They don't break the logjam. But in the House, we've been trying. Here's the problem, though. You can't negotiate when every Republican in the House of Representatives has been out of Washington, D.C. for the last 30 days, refusing to come back, refusing to have a conversation, and refusing to find a consensus. So, Speaker Mike Johnson, shame on you for all the people you're hurting across this nation. And God bless all of you who've come out and who support Michelle and the mayor's efforts and everything else to try to find a way to bridge this gap. Please welcome Johnny Olszewski.
If you think I'm lucky to serve with Kwasi Mfume in Congress, you'd be right. I'm lucky enough to have someone who understands the urgency of this moment, who is pushing back against $300 billion of cuts already made by President Trump and congressional Republicans to food benefits for seniors and our young people, for veterans. If you think I'm lucky to have a mayor that understands the urgency of stepping up and meeting the need of the people he represents, you're lucky. You're right. I'm proud to be here with Mayor Scott, and I thank him, Doc Bullock, Michelle, your team, Alex. Thank you for speaking up about what people are experiencing right now, and thank you for meeting the need. Along with Congressman Mfume, I would rather be in Washington right now. I would rather be voting to reopen the government in a responsible, bipartisan way that honors our civil servants and that delivers for the American people. This shutdown isn't just reckless, it is cruel, and it's painful, and it's wrong. Millions of Americans are about to either lose their health care or pay thousands of dollars a year more to keep it. Hundreds of thousands are not being paid currently, and countless Americans are set to lose their food benefits. And so I want to thank again Mayor Scott and the partners here for committing these desperately needed funds to the people of Baltimore who are themselves struggling to pay for food, rent, and childcare. We're now on day 28 of the second longest shutdown in American history. And every day that passes is another day where civil servants work without pay. These federal employees are not political pawns. They're parents, they're neighbors, and they're public servants who have mortgages to pay and children to feed. And they deserve our support and gratitude. And the shutdown is not just affecting them, but it's affecting all of the Americans who rely on their services, keeping us safe when we fly, inspecting our food, protecting our nuclear stockpile. Civil servants aren't the enemy. They are literally providing life-saving services. Congressman Mfume and myself, along with our Democratic colleagues, we are ready to sit down with anyone, anywhere, anytime with the great negotiator to reopen the government. But there have been, as Congressman Mfume said, no conversations at all. Speaker Johnson has canceled votes for weeks. President Trump is abroad, absent from America. DC is a ghost town. We can't compromise if we're not talking. And look, I'm someone who believes in getting things done. Like Mayor Scott, I served at the local level, and I know about delivering. And so it's why I'm so grateful that he is stepping up with these partners to provide today. But I've worked with Republicans and Democrats alike to get things done. And so Congressman Mfume and I, the entire Maryland delegation, we're ready to work across the aisle to focus on solutions over sound bites, because in the end, this isn't about politics, this is about decency. And so let's get back to the table. Let's actually get in a room. Let's end this government shutdown and reopen the government today. In the meantime, I want to thank Mayor Scott again for their work and call up one of those incredible partners, Michelle from the Food Project. Thank you.
Good morning. I want to say thank you so much, Mayor Scott, for seeing the need. And we were getting very nervous about the support that we were going to be able to provide to the community. 21223 is not only the poorest zip code in Baltimore, it's the poorest zip code in Maryland. So the need is so extreme. And losing SNAP, I lose sleep thinking about my moms. I have one mom with 6 kids in a hotel, and she can barely get by just paying for the hotel room, and I don't know what she's going to do when she doesn't have money for SNAP. So just know that my team here, that is from the community, we are prepared to do whatever we can to provide the services that are needed. And at the Food Project, food is just our connector. So not only are we providing a pop-up market 3 days a week and also doing delivered meals that are prepared here by the young men and women that you see behind the table, but we also provide resources, because at the end of the day, poverty, it runs deep. Right? So food is just the initial part. We also have a free clothing store upstairs run by our partner, So What Else. There is a drop-in center for the young ladies in the community run by Safe Exits. We have legal aid and mentorship by Fathers Fighting for Fathers, who's upstairs as well. And we have the Difference Makers that will be providing re-entry. In addition, we have a wonderful therapeutic partner, Therapeutic Wellness, that is in-house, that is, at the end of the day, you can take care of all your other needs. And if you haven't addressed the mental, the trauma and everything that these families have encountered, you're not going to address and get people up on their feet. We also have Maryland Physicians Care, a social worker in-house, and a wonderful navigator, Miss Sheena, that really works to connect all of our families with the resources that are needed, from benefits and housing, therapy, insurance, legal aid, like anything that you can think of. We really try to connect our families. And so if there's anybody in need, please, we will do our best to help you where we can. Thank you so much.
And last but certainly not least, thank you, Michelle. We're going to hear from one of our impacted federal workers, Alex.
Thank you. My name is Alex. I'm a furloughed federal worker, proud civil servant, proud AFGE union member, and today I speak to you as a proud Baltimore City resident. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And thank you so much to the mayor and to the Food Project and all the partners in delivering this aid to our people who are hurting so much. It's incredible to see the support from communities and the solidarity from the city and the state with us and our federal employees. I have to say, it hasn't been 3 weeks of shutdown. This government has been shutting down since January. Thousands have been illegally fired or pushed out. Programs to the tune of billions have been cut. Our civil service is under attack. Our union contracts have been violated and openly terminated. And all of that is happening while our own military is being used to occupy our cities one after another and harass our communities and commit terror abroad. Our reps are finally taking a stand against this lawlessness. So I want to urge them to continue to hold the line, extract concessions from this shutdown, save our services, not just now, but permanently. I really support what Mayor Scott and the Food Project has done. They're really going to help us as a community stay resilient for this vital fight ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alex, and thank you, everyone. We'll take some questions from the media, and then I have some residents that I want to talk to.
For members of the press with questions, please come to the mic and keep your questions. One question, brief, on topic.
This question is for the congressman. The AFGE has called for Congress to pass a clean CR to end the shutdown. That's, of course, the nation's largest union representing federal workers. Your reaction to that? And do you think it will happen?
Well, if I knew it was going to happen, we could call this all off and celebrate. I've worked with AFGE forever. They've endorsed so much of what I've done, but mostly the particular resolution of inquiry that I submitted and others in the House in pro forma session to find a way to do just that. To have a clean CR, but a CR that does not throw out what is so vital and important, and that is really, more than anything else, the ability of people to continue having health care subsidization through the end of the year. Today in Maryland, people are opening up their mail and seeing that their health care is going up $100, $200, $300, $400 from this point on. That's unfair. So I support AFGE, work with Ed Kelly, the president of the association. I've not talked to any of them there since that was issued, but we want to find a way to get it done. And I'm sure Johnny will say the same thing. We want that to happen. And it could have happened if it did not find its way in the Senate where they started playing games. So yes, we want a CR that's clean, but that takes care of those people who are being hit so hard with health insurance here on out, Medicaid, Medicare, and all the others that go with it. Johnny, do you want to say something?
Thank you, Congressman Nfume. I'll just add two things on that, Phil. One is the problems and the challenge. Well, first I'll say I empathize with where AFGE is. People are hurting, and President Trump is only exacerbating that hurt by choosing to withhold $5 billion of discretionary funding that Congress specifically set aside to continue things like food benefit payments. He is choosing to do that. He doesn't have to do that. There's actually some question as to whether or not it's even legal for him to withhold that funding. So he's making it worse unnecessarily. But secondly, I'd say this is also not a clean CR. What Republicans are pushing in Congress is a continuation of what Congressman Nfume said. $9 billion of cuts where one party unilaterally came in after there was a bipartisan deal. And it's canceling programs, canceling people. Maryland's at the front of the line. 15,000 federal employees have been fired, more than any other state in the country. And so for me, the worst thing would be to have a bipartisan deal where we shake hands and then this administration turns around and starts canceling more programs, canceling more dollars, firing more employees. It would be wrong. And so we have to have some protections in any budget deal in addition to fighting for the healthcare issue that's out there as well.
Thank you very much, David Collins, WBAL TV. This is open to anybody. Your thoughts on SNAP being used as a bargaining chip, and Congressman Olszewski has already answered part of this question. Reaction to the sudden change in using the emergency contingency fund.
Well, it's important to point out that SNAP has always been a bargaining chip. They never wanted it. They never wanted to fund it. And then in this bill that got passed, that again they call beautiful, billions of dollars were cut out of it. And so for them to say, oh, we want to sit down and talk and then run out of town is disingenuous. If they are serious about that, they will be serious about coming into town and working out a compromise. That's why I said so much of this is at the foot of Speaker Mike Johnson. Shame on him. He knows better. And Donald Trump certainly knows better. And you can't play with people over and over and over again, their livelihoods, their health care subsidies and everything else, and expect to be trusted. We have, the nation, been trusting them since February when Donald Trump started his stuff. So we're not going to do that this time. We're not going to get robbed. We're not going to put women and children in front of a firing squad for him. We're going to continue to fight, but be ready to sit down and talk whenever they come back to town. This has got to be a bipartisan solution to a very partisan problem.
And I'll just add, Dave, to my congressman points that we're talking about SNAP and food benefits, right? We should never in this country that we spend millions and trillions of dollars to bail out other countries, to send things into space, but we don't have money to feed our own people. That shouldn't even be a discussion. That should never be. People's food in this country shouldn't be a bargaining chip, and it's embarrassing that they continue to do that. But I do want to send this note really out to those in middle and rural America, because I think that folks forget those are the places that are going to feel this the most. We're going to feel it here in Baltimore, but they're going to try to convince people that only urban cores are going to feel this. This is going to be felt deeply in every corner of this country, and people from wherever they live should be enraged about it. Oh, yes, sir.
Just one other thing. Some of you recall that the president announced $40 billion to go to Argentina. That never came before the Congress for discussion. That was the president being who he is and showing us what his priority is. If we had half of that money, $20 billion, aimed at providing health care subsidies that are going to go away, aimed at making sure that SNAP is taken care of, we would be half of the way out of this issue. $40 billion to Argentina when we only needed 20 to get us started on the road here. Something's wrong with that picture.
I do have a question for Mayor Scott. You're talking about spending taxpayer dollars in the city, and my question is in reference to that. Former Baltimore City Schools police officer Lawrence Smith was recently found
No
guilty.
one thought you would be talking about this crisis, Chris, so we're not shocked. Continue your question.
Well, it's about taxpayer dollars, and you're saying it needs to go to the needy, and this is hundreds of thousands of dollars that could go to help people. Baltimore City Schools police officer Lawrence Smith was recently found guilty of stealing from the taxpayer hundreds of thousands of dollars, found guilty of 2 federal felonies. He's still going to keep his city pension. You appoint
Well,
people to
let's
the
stop
board
there.
of trustees.
Not you remember, it's not he's a school police officer, so he's not a city employee. I just want to make sure that you reminded people of that.
But he's in a
And
city employee retirement system.
I
ask my
hear you,
question?
Chris.
Can I just
I'm
ask
going to
my
answer your question. You've asked it.
Do you know what it
can move
is?
on.
What's my
So
question?
your question. Let me take a guess. You're going to come to a part where a press conference where we're talking about feeding the needy at the because a president that your boss supports very deeply, and you're going to ask us about one person being able to keep a pension, saying that pension can fill SNAP benefits. The question itself is absurd. But I'm going to answer the question that you're going to ask, whether he should be able to keep the pension or not. Let me take a guess. That's your question, right?
What was my question?
I figured that. So if you look in the history books, and I know that's kind of hard for your station, you'll see that when we had the gun trace task force and some other police misconduct things, that myself, the former council president, and even the man who is now our city comptroller has said multiple times that we need law changes in order for that to happen. That folks who are breaking the law should not be able to keep pensions, no matter who they are. But those issues are not just something that we can solve in the city of Baltimore. They have to be solved in Annapolis. But what I am talking about right now today is how we're going to help people in the immediate, not with hundreds of thousands of dollars, but millions of dollars in the immediate to help people, because we're talking about these diversion tactics that you're trying to play here. We're talking about a president and his party who have control of the full federal government, who are choosing not to feed people, who want to hold this country hostage because they don't believe in helping folks with health care. That's what we're talking about. That issue that you're talking about will not change for me no matter who it is. But today we're talking about helping people who are the most at need because their jobs are being taken away. People who have to show up to work every single day and not be paid and still have to figure out how they're going to send their child to daycare. That's what we're talking about today. Thank you. I've already answered your question.
Man, he wasn't even talking about that. He talking about something else.
Good afternoon. You were talking about the immediate need here, and it seems as if the government shutdown is going to continue into another week, as we already saw it stretching into the fourth week. How long do you think this assistance is going to last, and are there any preparations to extend or find more money, considering we don't really know a timeline on when we're going to see an end?
The truth is we don't know, right? Once we see the applications and the stuff coming in, we could have a better answer of that. But the truth is, as I stated before, and as myself and every mayor in the country, I know every governor in the country has been stating, there is no way that any local or state government is ever going to fully fill the gaps left by this hole. I don't want people to get diverted away from where their focus should be. Their focus should be on the federal government and those who have complete power of the government to open it back up. That's what should be happening right now, and we have to make sure that that happens in a way, as you heard from both of the congressmen, that does not cancel people's health care, that does not cancel their food benefit, that does not eliminate more jobs that we actually need to make sure that our federal government is operating at its highest ability. That's where our focus should be. Anybody else? All right, thank you very much.